Is that time?
Here we go. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, then your face will surely show it. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, howl like a dog.
Oh, oh, oh!
If you're happy and you know it, pant like a dog. If you are happy and you know it, then your face will surely show it. If you're happy and you know it, growl like a dog. Oh, well, we got a good story today, and really it's going to make you laugh at the end of it, but you have to listen really good to it now, okay? Well, it's a story about a fox, and it's a story about a dog, some dogs. And I think we probably need to clap bingo.
Okay.
Let's clap bingo because it's going to be about a dog.
Okay.
Ready? 1, 2, 3. There was a farmer had a dog, and Bingo was his name. B-I-N-G-O, 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 and Bingo was his name. Let's do it on our legs. Was a farmer had a dog, and Bingo was his name. Oh, B-I-N-G-O, 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 and Bingo was his name.
Oh, you got fancy.
You know what I did? I did really fancy. Okay, get ready. Here comes the story now. It's a long story, and you have to really listen to it really good, okay? So wiggle your fingers and wiggle your toes and wiggle your shoulders and scratch your nose. So no more wiggle to the left, you see, and you can sit still. Sit still and listen to me. Once upon a time, see, there's that story again. And by the way, these are Scooter Mouse stories.
Okay.
He had them all packed away, and I look in there and did them. Because you could tell Scooter Mouse's stories because he would cut them and paste them and get pictures and things like that. Sometimes he would draw pictures, which I better to just get a picture. He don't draw really good. Tell him I said that. Now, once upon a time, there was a great, big, beautiful forest. Great, big, tall trees and beautiful, bushy, just beautiful. And right in the middle of the forest, down through the middle of it, there ran a deep, wonderful, cold, clear river. And all of the animals came down to the river to drink and swim and enjoy the wonderful, cool water. Now, also in the forest, there was an old abandoned house. It had been there for many, many years before. A man and a lady, a mom and a daddy, and some children had lived in the house, but then the children grew up and the mom and daddy died, and the old house lives vacant, and there it stood through the rain, through the cold, through the sunshine, through the heat, until it began to fall down and bushes began to cover it up. But underneath the house, there was a cellar, a dark, deep cellar. And that was where the fox lived. No one knew that the fox lived there, but it was a cozy, safe, wonderful home. And the fox stayed there all day and slept. But at night, the fox came creeping out. And he crept up on the hill over the farmer's farm. And he looked down and he looked hungrily at the hen house. The farmer just had a wonderful house full of nice, fat, juicy hens. And the fox wanted one of them so bad. And sometimes he would try to go down to get one. And there he is, looking down there at the farmer's farm. But the farmer's dog always chased him away. And he chased him and chased him, and it hadn't been for the fox coming back, knowing where the cellar was. The dog would get him, but the dog ran right across the cellar. He didn't see it. And so the fox got away. Now, the fox could never get him anything to eat at night because of the dogs. And the reason the dogs were always awake and chasing him away was because the dogs had fleas. Now the daddy dog and the mother dog had some puppy dogs, and they all had fleas, and so they couldn't sleep at night. They would get in their dog house, their big, nice, cozy, warm dog house, but then they would begin to itch and scratch. They had a time. They even had them in the daytime. They rolled in the grass, they rolled in the sand. They tried to get rid of those wretched fleas. And here is the mother, and y'all count the babies. Count how many babies. One, two, three, four of them. Now, you can imagine what it was like trying to sleep at night. It's no wonder they heard the fox when he was coming trying to get him a chicken, because they couldn't sleep on account of those fleas now. Look at the mother. That mother looks like she pretty well can get kind of mad sometimes. One day she said to the daddy dog, she said, listen, I was down at the river and I was watching the fox, and he has a great big beautiful bushy tail and wonderful fur, and he does not have any fleas. I want you to go down there and I want you to ask the fox how to get rid of the fleas. Now the dog said, I'm not going to do it. I don't like him. He's always giving me a lot of trouble, and he chases me away from the hen house. And she said, you do as I tell you. I cannot stand these fleas and live with them on. It's worrying me to death. Take your best bone and give it to the fox and ask him to help us. It's always a good thing to take a present to the enemy. Now, the dog dug around and found one of his very good bones, and he took it down to the fox, and he said, good evening, Mr. Fox. And the fox said, hello, my friend. The dog said, I brought you a present. The fox said, what do you want me to do for you? And the dog said, well, you see, we just have a terrible problem. You see, we have fleas, my wife and I do, and our puppies do, and we just can't get rid of them all day long. They bother us, but at night, particularly when we're trying to sleep, we can't sleep because of the fleas. And the fox said, oh. So the dog said, I brought you this bone, and I want to know if you'll help us get rid of the fleas. And the fox said, I think I can do that. Meet me in the morning at the river. Bring your wife and your puppies, and I'll show you how to get rid of the fleas. You have to watch a fox. They're pretty tricky. So the next morning, down to the river came the mother, the other dog, and the 4 puppies. And then they lined up along the bank of the river, and the fox said, now, here he is. Good morning. You must do as I tell you if you want to get rid of the fleas. There he is now. Now, I need to tell you this. Along the bank of the river, there was this soft green moss that was growing. Everybody's seen moss and little fancy little greenery stuff that grows along the edge of the river, but the moss was particularly fluffy and pretty. So the fox backed out into the river, and he leaned over and he took a big bite of that moss and held it in his mouth, and he said, everybody get a bite of this moss in your mouth. And now the mother and the daddy looked at each other, and the puppies, the mother said, do as he says. And so they all went over and they got him a nice mouthful of that moss in their mouth. Now watch this now. Now, then, the fox began to back into the river. And the water was cold and swift and very scary. And then he said, do as I do. And as he backed into the river, water began to get higher and higher because the river got deeper and deeper. At first, the water covered up the tails of the dogs and the fox and the puppies. And the puppies went, oh, oh, oh. And the mom said, do as he tells you. So they backed into the water. And when they did, the water covered up their tails, and the fleas on their tails jumped on their back. Then the fox said, go in deeper. And they backed in a little bit deeper, and the water got a little bit higher, and it got up on the dog's back. And then the fleas that were on the tail and had jumped on the back jumped up on the dog's head. And then he said, get a little bit deeper. And he's getting on, hold up the water and then the fleas that were on the tail, that had jumped on the back, that had jumped on the head, jumped off onto that mouse that those dogs were holding in their mouth. And then, here we go, see them, there they go. Then the fox said, let go of the mouse. And they opened their mouths and they let go, and the mouse began to float down the river, and the mouse was full of fleas. And if you'd have been there and you'd have been by that river, you'd have heard those fleas going. Oh, they were mad about that, but down they went down the river. 4 big clumps of them from the puppies, 2 from, they've got all the fleas went floating down the river. And then the dogs came out of the river. Look at them, they laughing. Oh, when they came out of the water, they realized that they were completely flea-free. How about that? Can you say that? Flea-free? They were so tickled, and so they went home wagging their tails and just so happy, doing flips and chasing each other and everything. And that night, after the farmer had given them a nice, yummy supper, they all got in the doghouse, that big, really nice doghouse that the farmer had built for them. And they snuggled up to each other, and they went sound to sleep. Listen good. And while they were sleeping, the fox came tipping down from his hiding place in the cellar, and he grabbed him a chicken. And he took it home and he ate it. And then when he got through eating that chicken and his tummy was nice and full, he climbed up to the opening in the cellar. And he looked all around and he said, then he said, burp. And that was the end.
The end. I think I know where their fleas went.
Was that a good story?
That was a good story, but I think
We could
they
do-
came over here.
We could do Fred the Flea.
Let's
get
do
it.
Fred
Okay, is
the
everybody
Flea.
ready? All
Let's
right.
get rid of these
On my
fleas.
foot is Fred the Flea. All right, everybody get ready now. Here we go. I have to hold on back here so I can step on him good. Get ready now. We're going to smush him real good. Okay, is
Okay.
everybody ready? Here we go. On my foot is Fred the Flea. Now he's crawling up on me. He's crawling past my tummy and past my nose, and he's up on top where my gray hair grows. Then he's crawling down on me, past my tummy, past my knee. He's on the floor. Take that, you flea.
Now.
We got him.
We got him.
Well, I guess we could do the flea fly song.
That is
We're
funny.
talking about flea flies, okay? All right, is everybody ready? We're going to do the flea fly song. Here we go. Oh, the first flea fly flew up the flue, and the second flea fly flew down. The first flea fly flew up the flue, the second flea fly flew down. The first flea fly flew up the flue, the second flea fly flew down. When the first flea fly flew up the flue, the second flea fly flew down. They was only playing flea fly. They was only playing flea fly. They was only playing flea fly. When the first flea fly flew up the flue,
and the
second flea fly
then
flew
the
down.
second one flew down.
We're so glad you came today. We just had the most fun ever.
We did.
Let's throw a flea fly kiss. Bye.
Bye.